I'm Dr. Angela McKaye, chiropractor and naturopathic physician, and it is Motivational Monday, and we've been talking about gut health all month this month. So today I really want to talk about the gut-brain axis and the connection between what's going on in the GI tract and your mood, whether you're experiencing anxiety, depression, or other things that may be going on, and how what's going on in your GI tract really can impact what's going on with your brain. There are a lot of things that we've talked about already that lead up to this, so it might be helpful to go back and review some of those videos. But in your GI tract, you have a lot of your immune system functioning there. So there's an interface in the GI tract that regulates your immune cells, your T cells, and in general your immune system. So if that gets activated and there's inflammation in the gut, it's going to throw off your GI tract and cause some dysbiosis that can lead to inflammation ultimately in the brain. So where we were talking about leaky gut before, you can end up having leaky brain as well. And in fact, if you have a leaky gut and have had a leaky gut for some time, it's not just a quick short-term virus, short-term infection, chances are you have leaky brain and inflammation in the brain as well. We're going to talk a little bit about how that system interacts between the two areas of the body that seem to be totally unrelated, but are actually really closely related. A lot more now than we ever used to think as more and more research becomes available. The gut bugs that we've been talking about, they make neurotransmitters. They make dopamine, which is our reward neurotransmitter. We usually think about that as coming from the brain, but dopamine is a neurochemical that signifies a sense of reward. It can give you an elated mood. It's associated with being an extrovert. Maybe extroverts have a little bit more dopamine than the rest of us. The gut bugs also make serotonin. You make a lot more serotonin in the gut. You've got more serotonin there than you do in the brain, in fact. And so this is also a neurotransmitter and a neurosignaler, and it's associated with happiness and feeling motivated and a sense of calm and being able to think clearly and being in that rest and digest state. The microbiome in your gut is also responsible for production of GABA, G-A-B-A, which is a large molecule that shuts down the neurons and slows everything down. It's inhibitory, so it allows for relaxation. Some people use it as a supplement to help them with sleep. If you're taking it as a supplement and it's really effective for making you slow down, relaxed, or feeling groggy, chances are that your brain is leaky because it's a big enough molecule it shouldn't cross the blood-brain barrier. Norepinephrine is also made there, and so that used to be called noradrenaline, and it's important for being alert, being able to pay attention, being able to stay awake, and being able to focus. Gut microbiome also has a role to play in cortisol production. So it doesn't itself make cortisol, but it does send signals to the brain that in turn send signals to the adrenals that then produce cortisol. So if you are having a problem with stress and cortisol production, then the gut bugs can definitely trigger you to make more. So when we're talking about a feeling you have in your gut or a gut reaction, those sorts of things are very, very real and can trigger an overall full body hormonal response. And so it really is a second brain that is reacting to your surroundings in real time. The gut bugs also have an influence in hormones called ghrelin and leptin, and this has to do with your feeling of hunger or feeling full and your appetite, and it has a lot to do with your weight and metabolism. So some of that, if your gut bugs are off balance or you've got the wrong kind of gut bugs, can throw you off and lead to problems with your metabolism, with gaining weight and having difficulty losing it, and with appetite control. In the gut, you also have your own endogenous opioid release. And so we think of opioids as like bad drugs that cause problems, that can cause addiction, or pain relief medications after surgery, for instance. But you do make some of your own opioids. You can make some of your own endorphins, for instance, after exercise, activities that are enjoyable. Chocolate helps you make some of your own, which is always a good one. We also have cannabinoid receptors in our body. So we make our own internal cannabinoids that fit into those receptors, and there are a lot of them in the gut. So this can be really important for people with autoimmune disease such as Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. You can utilize those endocannabinoid systems to help mitigate some of the symptoms of inflammatory bowel disease. The complex nature of your microbiome is specific to you, right? There are different groups of people throughout the world. They have different diets. They have different varieties of diversity of gut bugs in their system. And then over time, there has been less diversity in every population around the world. But there are some people who have more disorders in their gut flora than others. So that's been found to be true in certain conditions. Sometimes the flora is really off for people who have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or autism. There's research going on for ALS and the gut-brain connection, as well as cause bipolar disorder. This is true also, there's been some research for depression and anxiety as well. And so they're finding that transplanting different people's microbiome from a healthy person into somebody with one of those conditions I just listed gives them some benefit. The whole concept of fecal transplant sounds horrific for a lot of people, but they found that there's benefit even if the transplant's been sterilized. So there's no living bacteria in it at all. Still does seem to bring some relief to the recipient if they've had a healthy donor. That's still under active research and there are FDA rules around that. The only thing that procedure is approved for right now is a bacterial infection called C. diff. It's important to note that even though diversity is diminishing around the world, diversity is the key to having a healthy gut microbiome. So different things that we talked about previously this month can wipe out your microbiome. That can be an illness, that can be bacteria infection or a viral infection. Any number of things can alter your microbiome in a way that is not healthy. But the more diversity that you have there, the better for you overall. And your biome is going to be different than somebody's biome from the other side of the world. And you can both be completely healthy and still have completely different gut bugs. So there's not any one size fits all in terms of which strains are the best. There's more and more research coming out on which strains are associated with which illnesses or which strains seem to be beneficial to treat certain illnesses. But there's not one mixture that's a solution for all things that is the ideal microbiome. We've talked about how the microbiome can manufacture some neurotransmitters, and it travels along the path to the brain and back from the brain to the gut. So they're really in constant communication with one another. And it does this through local nerves that are spinal nerves, go up the spinal cord to the brain. There are also autonomic nerves and the vagus nerve that go to the brain, and then the brain is also signaling back to the gut. And so they're in constant communication all the time, which if you have inflammation in one area can set forward a cascade of inflammation throughout the body, including the brain, that can lead to mood disturbance. If you're having any of the symptoms that we've talked about in the past month regarding gut health, or you're having issues with anxiety, depression, obsessive thinking, and you're doing everything that you can along that route, one thing you may be missing is the gut-brain connection. So if that is something you want to talk about further, feel free to set up an appointment and get in and get seen.